Hello, beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It's Friday, so you know what that means. Another installment of my favorite episode of the week, Freaky Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, it is time to let your hair down. Think outside of the box. Let your imagination wander. Take the burdens of the week off your shoulders, even if it's for just a little while. Go into the weekend with a lighter heart, in a more joyous mood. I promise you, the shenanigans you did not resolve this week will be waiting for you on Monday. That's why we call it Manic Monday. Wish it were Sunday, because that's my fun day. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, I am so excited for today's Freaky Friday because we are going to be talking about the solar eclipse. Now, the solar eclipse is a big deal up here in Aroostook County. We are in the trajectory path, so we are going to have a spectacular viewing up here. And all the towns, including ours, in the path are having all kinds of amazing solar eclipse viewing celebrations and festivities. As for us, we're going to be home here on the homestead viewing the eclipse because, you know, animals get weird during these natural phenomena events, and having a farm, and, you know, we have the dogs and the cats, and we just want to make sure everyone remains cool, calm, and collected during the solar eclipse. So we will be viewing either from our back deck or from our front yard the actual eclipse. But for now, let's talk about what is going to happen, the science-y stuff, the conspiracy theories, which conspiracy theories these days, they're hard because so many things that people have said for 15 or 20 years were conspiracy theories within the last few years have bloomed into reality and facts. So I don't really like the word conspiracy theory too much because it's always kind of proved out that the theory was correct. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, we are also going to talk about some of the religious connotations surrounding the solar eclipse and some of the magical stuff, the woo-woo, so to speak, surrounding the eclipse itself. So let's get into today's podcast. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is NASA. NASA, numerology, mythology. So we're going to roll this all into one. So NASA is going to fire 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 APEP rockets into the solar eclipse. If you know anything about numerology, you know 3 is a very special number. APEP in Greek mythology means God of chaos. In Egyptian, it means snake god or evil devil. APEP rockets are sounding rockets, and they're going to be studying the Earth's upper atmosphere and how it's affected by sunlight dimming over portions of our planet. The rockets are going to be fired off in 45-minute intervals. It's going to happen 45 minutes prior to the start of the eclipse, at the apex of the eclipse, and 45 minutes after the eclipse has been completed. So why are people freaking out? Well, they're not only freaking out about the word APEP, but they are also freaking out because 3 holds a very important significance in numerology, in spiritual practices, in religions, and in magical practices. In religion, the number 3 is often associated with the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. In spiritual, magical practices, and in numerology, the number 3 means completeness, wholeness, resurrection, and harmony. So everybody's taking the meaning in their practices, wrapping it into the word APEP, meaning God of chaos or evil devil, and they are forming their own theories. In truth, have you ever known the nerdy kid at school? Were you friends with the nerdy kid? Were you the nerdy kid in school? Then you will know, if you have any nerdy people in your family, nerdy people don't get their laughs for their pranks from jumping out of a closet at somebody and scaring them half to death. A nerdy person uses their intellect and get you going. And that is exactly what the scientists are doing. Naming the rockets, the amount of rockets going into the atmosphere. It's their way of having a good laugh. And I think that really is all that it is. Now we're going to talk about the Super Collider. The Super Collider is going to be started on the day of the eclipse. The first collider that we started, the last time we found the God particle. And this time, the CERN physicists believe they are seeing hints of a different particle, and they have dubbed this one the ghost particle. Also, NASA is asking us to become citizen scientists, and they would like us to observe the behavior of the animals and see what we hear at the height of the eclipse. That's what's freaking people out. It's the hearing part. You know, during an eclipse, everything is going to go dark. And generally, when it's dark, you don't hear any birds. You don't see any birds in flight. They think it is dark and they go right away to roost. It kind of tricks them. Now, there's many reports that people are saying keep your dogs and cats inside at the height of the eclipse for behavioral problems so that they don't look at the sun. Animals generally don't look at the sun anyways. What to expect if you have poultry? Probably your birds are going to go and roost. Very simple, very basic. They're not going to run around. They're not going to flip out or anything like that. They are just going to have their time frame a little goofed up, and your birds will probably go and roost, and there'll be peace and harmony. Here on the homestead, we're just locking everybody up. As things progress and it starts to get dark, we're going to put all of the animals in the barn, and everything should be just fine. Now, another wild thing that is happening is there are going to be 2 different species of cicadas hatching on April 8th. It is going to be the most rare double brooding in 221 years. More natural facts. The horned comet, or as it's been dubbed, the Devil's Comet, may or may not make an appearance during the eclipse. You may be able to see it. You may not be able to see it. It's uncertain right now. Earthquakes happen. Strange weather events happen. Strange geological events happen during times of heightened energy. And people are really worried about earthquakes happening right now. And they are focusing right now on the New Madrid Fault in Missouri. So if you guys didn't know, an earthquake actually hit Taiwan on Tuesday, April 3rd. And it has been reported to be the worst earthquake in 25 years. So there's all kinds of natural events that happen. Earthquakes, tsunamis, strange weather patterns, geological shifts. This happens often with heightened energy affecting our planet. People are affected. Animals are affected. Everybody's affected. Everything is affected by the energy. We're going to travel a bit back in time, and we're going to talk about the New Madrid Fault. So what happened is in June 16th, 1806, a solar eclipse occurred. And then a second solar eclipse occurred on September 17th, 1811, over the New Madrid fault line, and it formed an X over the fault line. On December 16th, 1811, 3 months after the second eclipse happened, a series of devastating earthquakes happened along that fault line. So everybody is watching with a lot of apprehension at the New Madrid fault line in Missouri and into Illinois. I think that they're really particularly worried about what could happen, because the solar eclipses of this magnitude don't happen all the time. So this is a really cool thing that is happening within our lifetime. Now, also, more natural events. The eclipse is happening on the day of the new moon. So, the new moon energy, the eclipse energy, it's going to be very strong, and it is going to affect the planet, the people, the animals. These effects of that energy, that energy rolling off of the sun and the moon into our atmosphere, these effects are going to last for days. But you know that if you pay attention to woo-woo, don't you? I am the girl of woo-woo. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the conspiracy woo-woo spirituality of the solar eclipse. So Aleister Crowley claimed on April 8th, 1904, that he summoned an entity. And the entity's name was Aiwass, who he identified as Satan. He had communication with this entity for 3 days, in which he was instructed to draw an X symbol. So, who is Aleister Crowley? Aleister Crowley was an occultist, a poet, a writer, and a mountaineer. Aleister Crowley, we're going to keep this really, really condensed because I can do an entire couple hours on Aleister Crowley and his life and magical practices. Aleister Crowley wrote a book called The Book of Law. Basically, what the book states is people should learn to live in tune with their will. The book and Aleister Crowley's philosophies became the cornerstone of his religion, which he called, and I'm gonna botch this, Thelema. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. The principle emphasizes one's personal freedom and pursuit of one's true path while being guided by love and finding one's authentic purpose. It features Egyptian deities. Magic is the central practice of Thelema, which encompasses a range of physical, mental, and spiritual exercises. Here we go with more woo-woo. On April 8th, 2024, the eclipse is being dubbed the Eclipse. The 3 rockets are being launched into the eclipse, and communications really could be inhibited during the event. The second rocket will be launched at 3:22 p.m., which coincidentally is the number associated with the Skull and Crossbones Society. If you don't know what Skull and Crossbones Society is, Google it. This is where we start going down the rabbit hole, ladies and gentlemen. CERN and the Super Collider. Physicists are discovering a 4th dimensional entity inside of the Super Collider, the ghost particle. And on April 24th, 2024, which happens to be Passover, the antimatter factory is going to deliver antimatter protons or dark matter. And what they think that might happen in the world of down the rabbit hole conspiracies is that a portal will be open on April 22nd, Passover, when things start to come into completion in that super collider. Now we've got some religious connotations such as the red heifer theory. So what is the red heifer? People have been talking about it a lot. I'm going to super condense this for you guys because there is a lot of conflicting, depending upon if you're following the Jewish practice, if you're following Muslims, or if you're following Christianity. So the red heifer, what is going to happen is on April 10th, the Israeli Jews are planning to sacrifice a red heifer brought from Texas to the Holy Land. The perfect heifer needs to be sacrificed in order for the Jews to build their temple. Now, the Muslims and the Christians believe that if this happens, the Antichrist will come. Now, there's also theory surrounding the red heifer because it wasn't a natural coming. The red heifers from Texas were specifically bred for the perfect heifer to be sent to Israel, and I do believe 4 of them were sent. Out of the 4, they went through the spiritual practices on discovering if it was, they had one of the 4 was a perfect red heifer, because it has to be a perfect red heifer, which means I think they can find 1 black hair and 1 white hair on the heifer, and it is still considered a perfect red heifer. Well, because this was not a natural coming, it was a bred into DNA type of situation in Texas, that now the Muslims and the Christians believe that if this red heifer is sacrificed, the Antichrist will come forth. And these are just a few of the really cool science-y things that are going to happen during the eclipse, and some of the really neat conspiracy theories that have us really enthralled and intrigued and keep our imaginations wandering. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, thank you for hanging out with me today on this amazing Freaky Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, carpe diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.